Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to EFL Championship predictions for the last set of games of 2023. The year is nearly over, Sophie, and how are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Had a good Christmas. Hope everyone else did.
Yeah, absolutely, and I hope your team got a good result on Boxing Day. If not, let's hope your team can put it right in the next game. Guys, before we get into this video, please do make sure, of course, as always, to hit the like button. Let's go for 1,300 likes. Like I say, seeing as these are the last championship games of the year, make sure to drop a like. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. It's free to do, so drop a like and subscribe. As you can see, so close to 53,000 subscribers. Let's do one last push this year. So like and subscribe. And finally, Sophie, the scores on the doors. I beat you on Boxing Day 7-4 to extend my lead 163 to 159.
Call it a little Christmas present from me to you. But Christmas is over.
Oh, God, that's fighting talk. There you go. Right, well, let's get into the game, Sophie. Let's do some predictions. And let's start on the South Coast as we have Southampton versus Plymouth Argyle. I like this one. Two teams from the South Coast and two teams that are new to the division this year and two teams that have impressed me. Obviously, the objectives for both this season are different. Southampton have got to push for an immediate return to the Premier League, and Plymouth Argyle have got to stay up and possibly push for mid-table, but staying up is the most important thing. Sophie, Southampton absolutely smashed Swansea yesterday, 5-0. Yes.
But you know what I said about Southampton? They've got the possession, and I think it was a few weeks ago I said they're not clinical enough with it. Ever since I said that, they have been. And 5-0 against Swansea. Very, very good.
Devastating. Honestly, they absolutely ripped them to pieces. As for Plymouth Argyle, they took on the other South Wales team from the Championship, and I did predict them to get a draw on the road at Cardiff, and they did.
Yep,
I said about Plymouth Argyle, they will get their first away win soon, but not in this one for me. It's not impossible, but let's be honest, I think the strength of Southampton
it's a big ask, isn't it?
is too much. Do you know what, though? I think Plymouth might give this a good go and just fall short, but you can't not go for Southampton, Sophie. They are seriously in the top two race. I'm going to go Southampton 2, Plymouth 1.
I'm going to say 3-1 just because I feel like Southampton have got that about them now to put a few goals past the team rather than just the odd one. But I will give Plymouth a goal. And it'll probably be Morgan Whittaker again because he seems to be hitting some good form and he's a good player. But yeah, I do agree Plymouth will get their first away win soon. But this one, I don't see it happening. Southampton are just looking very good, so 3-1 for me. Yeah,
sometimes in the Championship you can get a little bit of a free hit, and Southampton away is not easy.
No, not right now.
No.
Form they're in.
Smashing Swansea 5-0. I think it was Blackburn 4-0 only a week or so ago. Crazy. On to the next one, Sophie, as we go to St Andrews, and it's Birmingham City versus Bristol City, the BCFC derby. And there is one team that's starting to look pretty solid now, Sophie, and one team that is really going in the opposite direction. Obviously, the team moving down the table is Birmingham City. I don't know with them, Sophie. At times, I've thought, oh, okay, you know, that's a bit better. But really, the big picture is they've regressed under Wayne Rooney, haven't they?
They have. I can kind of see what Wayne Rooney wants to do, though, like with his style of football. But right now, he's not got the players to do that. And it takes a good manager to recognise, okay, plan A is not working, so what's your plan B? And he doesn't seem to have one.
Yeah, we've both got to put our hands up and say we backed Birmingham to beat Stoke, and they fell short and lost 3-1. So we've been left with egg on our face. So Birmingham City, I'm not impressed with you. As for Bristol City, I did back them to go and win at Watford, and they did do that. But Sophie, 4-1.
Yeah, 4-1. Wasn't expecting that because, as I'd said, I backed Watford, and Watford had been in good form. But Bristol City are quietly going about their business.
I'll tell you what, Sophie, this is starting to come together for Bristol City now. If they could just keep this consistency going, then they could be a team that sneaks into the top six that absolutely no one saw coming. Maybe some Bristol City fans that were, you know, fairly optimistic might have seen this coming, but big picture, Sophie, is I thought to myself they're a mid-table team, but they're really looking more like a top top 8, possibly top 6.
Yeah, possibly playoffs, the form they're in at the moment.
I'm going to go for them. I'm going to keep back in Bristol City here.
Yeah.
Birmingham 1, Bristol City 2. They just keep churning out the results.
Yeah, it'd be good if they could keep a clean sheet against Birmingham here. And I think they could do it, to be honest. They're looking good. And I'm going to say that's reflected in the scoreline. 3-0 Bristol City.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. Well, Birmingham, as we've said, they're not looking very good right now. So.
Going to town on Birmingham, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Right, interesting. The next game, Sophie, is down in South Wales as we have Cardiff City taking on Leicester City. Now, both sides were involved in a draw on Boxing Day. For me, Sophie, I would say Cardiff City have got to be more disappointed with their results. They were at home to Plymouth, who have not won away from home, and you know they took the lead in that game, so Cardiff will be kicking themselves. Yeah. Having said that, Leicester City took the lead against Ipswich and conceded in the last minute due to a massive deflection. But to be honest, Sophie, you can't just I still can't see a way past Leicester City. You know, they might drop the odd points here and there, but they are just too strong, aren't they?
Yeah, that Mavididi is some player, isn't he?
Oh, God, they are so strong. so strong. I remember Cardiff going to Leicester earlier this season and they gave it a really good go. And Aaron Ramsey scored that absolute wonder goal. He arrowed that into the top corner. I'm going to go for the same scoreline. I think Cardiff can give them a good game, but Leicester City are winning the league in my opinion. So I'm going to give them another 3 points. Cardiff 1, Leicester 2.
Yeah, I agree with that. As we've said on multiple occasions now, Leicester do it. They get the 3 points, but sometimes they don't make it that easy for themselves. The Ipswich game, there was a lot resting on that for Ipswich more than Leicester, because I think Leicester are going to win the league. As I predicted beginning of the season, they're just looking good. I know they had that penalty shot as well. I don't know if you've seen that on Dewsbury Hall. For me, that is a pen.
That's a terrible decision.
You've wiped out the player, so surely that's a red as well. But never mind, the ref didn't give it. It ended a draw. I think they'll get back to winning ways here, but I will give Cardiff a goal, and I think they will make it a fairly tough game, actually. But, yeah, I agree with you. 2-1 Leicester.
2-1 Leicester. We're both going for the Foxes. Okay, right, on to the next one, Sophie. Let's go to the Theatre of Dreams. It's Coventry City versus Swansea City, the CBS. And of course, in the last video, we both backed us to beat Sheffield Wednesday 2-0, and we got it right. Things are starting to come together now for Coventry City, and it is reminding me a little bit of last season. The only downside is, Sophie, when Coventry might have a bad game, or even when it's a tight game, you could depend on a Gyökeres or a Hamer to win that game. This season, Sakamoto, Callum O'Hare and Casey Palmer are chipping in with the crucial goals recently. We need the strikers to start firing, otherwise I don't think we can get top 6 if they're not chipping in more often.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
I do like Hadji Wright, and I think Sims and Godden, they all work hard. But no one's really been able to hit that rhythm of consistency, hitting the back of the net. Swansea City, Sophie, I always look at them and think they're a tricky championship outfit, but they got smashed by Southampton 5-0 and they're sort of languishing down in 17th place. It's not a great season, really. Of course, it was always going to be a bit of a transitional season with the change in management. But I tell you what, Soph, Coventry City always seem to struggle to beat Swansea.
I was going to say that.
We do draw a lot of the time. So it's not like I'm feeling like, oh, we've defo lost this. I think it could be a draw, you know. Obviously, I want to win. I think Coventry come into this as favourites, but I'm just going to take the pressure off us and go for a 1-1 draw for no other reason than the fact that Swansea have been a bit of a bogey team. And I don't know, I think after that 5-0 defeat, they've got to come and show some reaction. There's
got to be a reaction after that, and they could well get a reaction here by getting a draw. Wouldn't be a bad result for them. To be honest, it wouldn't be the worst result in the world for us either, but it wouldn't be great. As you've said, they are our bogey team, so I could see a draw playing out, but confidence is high at the moment. I'm going to back the boys to win 2-1.
I like it. I like it. That was so nearly where I was at.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be level-headed here, Sophie, and sometimes
take your bias out of it.
Sometimes a good run of form can just halt. So we'll see. On to the next one, guys. Let's go to Huddersfield Town, who take on Middlesbrough. This is a really fascinating matchup because Both sides got really interesting results at the weekend, Sophie.
Unexpected results, I'd say. Yeah.
Unexpected. I mean, Huddersfield Town have thrown in the Darren draws to go all out for a Darren win. I did back them to beat Blackburn because Blackburn don't draw. But Huddersfield smashed them 3-0, Sophie. So I didn't quite think that would happen.
Well, I didn't think they had it in them, to be honest, to beat Blackburn 3-0. But yeah, fair play to them.
Yeah, I mean, if they could just, I don't know, get another win here, then they'll be mid-table or so.
Yeah, it'd be a bit more comfortable, wouldn't it?
Yeah. As for Middlesbrough, Sophie, they just confuse me. You know, they're still going in the Carabao Cup. They're in the semi-finals. The week before they'd beat West Bromwich Albion, who are one of the better teams in the division, and then they go away to Rotherham, who have only won 2 games all season, and they lost to them.
Yeah, so did we.
We lost to Rotherham as well.
We know how it feels.
It's a bit of a nightmare. Obviously, fair play to Rotherham. We'll come on to them later. They do tend to win at home and not away. But yeah, not good for Middlesbrough. They need to get a reaction from this game. But confidence is going to be high at Huddersfield, and I think they might just win again.
Yeah.
Huddersfield 2, Middlesbrough 1. And we always say the same thing. Middlesbrough are suffering with
injuries. They've got so many injuries, and it is obviously playing a part in why they're not hitting good form, because it is a bit of a struggle at the moment. I didn't expect you guys to lose at Rotherham, so that was a bit of a shocker for me. Obviously won't want to lose back-to-back games to 2 teams that are lower half of the table, but yeah, Huddersfield should be full of confidence after their last game. Can they carry it on again and get another win? They could, but I'm going to back a draw, actually. I'm going to sit on the fence for this one. I'm going to say 1-1.
Okay, yeah. That can happen where, you know, the previous results suggest Huddersfield, but that isn't always everything to go off.
No.
On to the next game, Sophie, and we go to Hull City, who take on Blackburn Rovers. Well, we've said with Blackburn, they are inconsistent. They win, they lose, they don't draw. But Hull City are starting to lose their consistency and become a little bit hard to predict, because we've said, and we've both said, keep an eye on Hull City. They're moving pretty well. They're a team that's growing in the Championship. They've got a good manager. They've got some good players. Last couple of results haven't been great. That can happen. Not every team's going to win every game. But I tell you what, it's not great. They need to bounce back with a result here, and maybe that'll just get them back on track as we head into 2024. This is not easy though, Sophie, because I do think Blackburn will show some reaction to being smashed at Huddersfield. But having said that, I still think Hull City are going to win. I keep backing you guys. You better not let me down again. I'm telling you. I'm going to go Hull City 1, Blackburn 0. I think Hull City will just about edge this as they try to move back into that top 6.
Yeah, as you've mentioned, both teams come into this after a defeat. I mean, Hull didn't take a drubbing like Blackburn did, so they really need a reaction in this game. But I've said it before and I'll say it again, Hull are a good team. I like the look of them. Every team are allowed a couple of bad games. You just can't let it become a bit of a poor run, which I don't think they will. I think they'll get back to winning ways here, but Blackburn will be in this one rather than the last. So 2-1 Hull City for me.
Both going for the Tigers to just about edge it. There you go, guys. Share your thoughts on Hull City versus Blackburn Rovers. On to the next one, Sophie, and we go to Portman Road. It's Ipswich Town versus Queen's Park Rangers. Now, let's just cast our minds back to a few weeks ago. Ipswich Town had this run of 3 games. Norwich, Leeds, Leicester. They have managed 2 points, which is not a great return. But it's difficult when you look at it. I think the head start they've already built themselves up. They could afford a couple games where they don't win. But now they are back to the so-called more winnable games. Maybe, just maybe, they'll get back on track. In the big picture, I think they could have beat Norwich with the chances they had. Agreed. The Leeds United game was just a write-off. But the Leicester City game was not a bad performance and a good point, I suppose, having come from behind in the last minute.
Yeah.
They take on QPR. QPR got beat by Millwall 2-0, and it seems as if their good run with Cifuentes has petered out. Yeah. That can happen, and then they can get going again, but it can also be the case that they had a good new manager bounce, and it's sort of faded away and it doesn't come back. I just think this is really difficult for QPR. I do think they've still got a chance of staying up, but in this game, I'm going to go for Ipswich to get back to winning ways. 2-0.
3-0 for me. I think it could be quite convincing. As we've said, QPR have dropped off it in recent weeks. I wouldn't really say the same for Ipswich, as they have been a few difficult games. They had a really poor one against Leeds, I will say that. But this, as we've said, is more winnable and could be quite convincing again. So yeah, to the Tractor Boys, 3-0.
To the Tractor Boys,
3-0.
There you go. Right, I like that. Let's go to the next one, Sophie. As we go to the Den, we've got Millwall versus Norwich City. And I don't know. If you'd have said before Boxing Day, you'd think this would be quite straightforward for Norwich because their run of form compared to Millwall's. But they both went and did the opposite. Millwall have picked up a win. Norwich went and lost. Albeit Norwich went away to West Brom, which was quite tricky, and Millwall were at home to QPR, who were in the bottom three. But do you know what? I'm going to go for Millwall to follow it up. Maybe, just maybe, this is them starting to put things together. They did have that great win against Sheffield Wednesday, and then it all faded away for a few weeks. Let's go for them to make it back-to-back wins here, Sophie. Millwall 2, Norwich 1. I just think at some point Millwall are surely going to start pushing up the table, and maybe this is now.
Yeah, I think they will climb, but I just see this one playing out as a draw. Norwich lost to West Brom, but it was only 1-0, so it wasn't a terrible defeat. But yeah, I just see this one playing out as a draw, so 1-1. 1-1.
Yeah, I get what you mean by that.
Yeah,
sometimes
it just feels drawy.
Sometimes there's not a lot in it, is there? Okay, alright, next up, Sophie, let's go to Deep Down, where Preston take on Sheffield Wednesday. Now, of course, we saw Sheffield Wednesday against Coventry, and we also saw a bit of Preston on the TV before we watched the Coventry game, because they beat Leeds United.
They did.
Now, having watched some of the game back as well now, it was a pretty bonkers game. The red card certainly helps Preston out with the Leeds United keeper Meslier getting sent off. Yep. And then after that, I don't know, Preston maybe seemed just a bit more motivated, fired up, and just took advantage with that extra man. And maybe they can just start to hit another good run of form, because it seems as if they've had a really good start, then they've wobbled, got a couple results, and then they've wobbled again, and now they've got a good result. Can they build on it in what is a winnable game? Now, I've said for a little while here, Sophie, that I think Sheffield Wednesday can stay up. I quite like them. I thought their fans were absolutely fantastic yesterday, and I think they deserve a lot better than being in the bottom three of the Championship. But I do think Sheffield Wednesday will get more of their points at home. And going away to Deep Down after Preston have just beaten Leeds, I think Preston are going to be fired up to make it 2 wins in 2. I'm going to go Preston 2, Sheffield Wednesday 1.
Yeah, 2-0 Preston for me. What I will say about Sheffield Wednesday is they did have a couple of chances against Coventry, but they're not taking them. And that seems to be a bit of the story of their season, to be honest, that they play well and they're not getting the reward for it at all. So, yeah, I don't think they were absolutely terrible. When you look at like a 2-0 defeat, you think, oh, okay, the other team didn't really turn up, but they did. But as I said, they're not taking their chances. I think it could be a bit of a similar story against Preston, to be honest. And I was very impressed with their performance against Leeds, so I think they'll back it up with another win. 2-0 Preston. 2-0
Preston. Okay, both going for the Lily Whites. On to the next game, Sophie, and we go to the New York Stadium as Rotherham United take on Sunderland. Now, what do we do here, Sophie? Both sides picked up results we didn't expect them to on Boxing Day. Rotherham beat Middlesbrough 1-0 at home to get only their 3rd win of the Championship season. Sunderland went away to Hull City and got a win under Michael Beale after losing to Coventry 3-0 at home the week before.
Takes them into the playoffs as well now.
It does. Sunderland all of a sudden have jumped into 6th place, and it's so frantic, by the way, the playoff race. I mean,
so tight, isn't it?
There's about 8 teams separated by 3 points. This is massive for both. They've both got a lot to play for here this season, Sophie. I'm going to edge the away team, just because Rotherham, although I think they're better at home, so therefore I think they could get something here, they don't do it very often, do they?
No, they don't.
3 wins this season. Gonna go Sunderland. Rotherham 1, Sunderland 3.
So I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. I'm going to back Rotherham to get a draw here.
Interesting.
Just because, yes, it was a good performance Sunderland against Hull City, but I can't really ignore their performance the week before that.
Yeah.
Also, as we've said, Rotherham are a better team at home, so I'm going to give them a draw for that. If it was away, I probably would back Sunderland, I won't lie. But yeah, I just see a 1-1 playing out.
1-1. Okay, that's interesting. All right, let's move on to the next game, Sophie. There's a couple of games left, and we're going to go to Vicarage Road, where we have Watford versus Stoke City. Now, Watford have been hitting some pretty nice form, haven't they? And then they crash and burn at home to Bristol City on Boxing Day. And Stoke City, Sophie, obviously, new manager. They hadn't been on a good run of form, and then they win 3-1 at Birmingham. A fantastic result for Stoke City. Can they build upon it here? Possibly, but at the same time I also think Watford have got to react to that terrible result against Bristol City. I'm tempted to go for a draw, Sophie, but I might just edge Watford still. I'm going to go Watford 2, Stoke City 1.
I think this could be another draw, to be honest. I'm going to say there's going to be a few goals in this one. I'm going to go for a Desmond. I've not had a Desmond in a little while, and I can see a draw playing out. I thought Stoke put in a good performance against Birmingham City, but a lot of teams are at the moment. Watford, before the Bristol City game, they had been on a pretty good run of form. So I think a draw will play out again, so 2-2.
2-2. Both. Oh, interesting.
Go for a lot of draws.
Go for a Desmond, yeah. And the last game, Sophie, is at the Hawthorns, where we have West Bromwich Albion at home to Leeds United. This is a really, really interesting matchup, Sophie. We've both given them lots of credit this season. They're both in that top 6. It's actually 4th away to 5th. Thing is with Leeds United, my expectations have been for them to make the top 2. They might still do it. And I do tend to back them every week, and they do win a lot of weeks, but they're not quite on the level of the others at the moment, are they? In terms of consistency.
No. Well, exactly what I was going to say. They don't have that consistency. They're a good team, and they play so well sometimes, but you're not consistent enough for top 2 right now.
No,
obviously.
It's really frustrating, actually, because the players they've got would be more, suited to the Premier League. I think this team is too strong for the Championship. We got to see them when they played Coventry. They were very strong. When they played Ipswich, they battered them. Away from home, they haven't been as strong, and the red card for Meslier certainly does,
He'll be out for this one, won't he?
Yeah, it doesn't help against Preston when they go and lose that game, and there was a late goal, of course, we need to mention. West Brom, Sophie, they got a crucial win against Norwich, and for the first time in a long time, I'm not going to go for Leeds. I'm going to go for West Brom. West Brom, they're looking solid. Leeds United, very good on their day, but inconsistent and not as good on the road as they are at home. I'm going to go West Brom 2, Leeds 1.
So I'm going to go the same, but the other way. I'm going to give Leeds the 3 points here. They've been very inconsistent, and that's why I wouldn't be surprised if they turned up for this one. They will be without Meslier, as he got that straight red, but as long as they're good enough going forwards, it shouldn't matter too much. West Brom, good result against Norwich. They're in good form in the playoffs. I think they could well finish in the playoffs come the end of the season. But I just see Leeds getting back to winning ways, so 2-1.
2-1. There you go. We're both going in opposite directions for that one. Do share your predictions down in the comments. That does in fact wrap up our Championship predictions. These are the final games of this year. Do make sure, of course, as always, to hit that thumbs up button. It is free to do. While you're there, make sure to subscribe. It's also free to do that. A massive thank you for joining me today, Sophie.
Thank you.
We will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.